So you guys remember the BC election that just happened? Where it felt like every week there was a new story about a BC Conservative candidate saying something unhinged. And some of Canada's worst social media personalities, because it was incredibly close, started preemptively and baselessly denying its result. And eventually the NDP eked out a very narrow victory and formed a majority government. Well, the weirdo behavior from the BC Conservatives did not end with the election. Let me explain. See, in Canadian politics there are usually critics, or sometimes they're called shadow ministers, and they're from the opposition parties. They tend to correspond more or less to the positions that exist in the actual government's cabinet. Like there's a finance minister, and the opposition party will have a finance critic or shadow minister. But sometimes they'll infuse a little more politics into the roles they create for this so-called shadow cabinet or the critic roles. And that is exactly what BC Conservative leader John Rustad did with his latest shadow cabinet appointees. See, he announced a new critic portfolio, one that has no corresponding government ministry. It's for parental rights and sports. That's right, the same parental rights that has become a dog whistle a lot of people use when they're actually talking about anti-LGBTQ policies. It's never the stuff that is actually supposed to help parents, like, I don't know, free childcare or something. No, instead it tends to focus on stuff like the BC Conservatives did when they promised to end SOGI in schools. SOGI, for the record, is not a curriculum. It stands for sexual orientation and gender identity. It provides tools and resources to help make schools safer and more inclusive for all students. A very normal thing to campaign on a promise to end, on top of creating an entirely new portfolio dedicated to what's effectively a dog whistle. As for the sports aspect, there do tend to be ministers for sports, but Rustad also tried to basically ban trans athletes from any publicly funded sports teams with a private members bill in April, which was roundly voted down. So hopefully that's not the kind of thing that the sports aspect is about, but knowing these guys. What's more is he announced this position, which the name suggests is likely dedicated to pushing for the kinds of policies that research has shown makes trans youth more likely to leave us on the Transgender Day of Remembrance. So yeah, what do you think of all this?